The secret power of cognitive biases. How they shape your decisions without you knowing. Have you ever wondered why you make certain decisions, ones that seem perfectly rational at the time, but leave you questioning yourself later? Or why you might stick with an opinion even when presented with evidence that suggests otherwise? What if I told you that your mind is quietly playing tricks on you, steering your choices in subtle and fascinating ways? This is the hidden power of cognitive biases, and in today's video, we're diving deep into the world of the unconscious mental shortcuts that shape our everyday lives. From how we spend money to how we form relationships, biases are at work behind the scenes. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll not only be able to identify these biases, but also learn how to outsmart them. Ready to take control of your mind? Let's get started. Great. What are cognitive biases? Let's kick things off by defining what cognitive biases actually are. Cognitive biases are systematic errors in thinking that affect the decisions and judgments we make. They're like mental shortcuts our brains take to process information quickly. While they can be helpful in saving time, they often lead us astray by distorting our perception of reality. These biases are rooted in our evolutionary history, helping our ancestors make snap decisions to survive. But in today's complex world, they can lead to flawed logic and irrational behaviors. Sound intriguing? Let's explore some of the most common biases and how they impact us. The anchoring bias. Why first impressions matter. Imagine you're shopping for a new phone. The first one you see is priced at $1,000, and suddenly every other phone seems cheap in comparison, even if it's $800. This is the anchoring bias at work. Our brains latch onto the first piece of information we encounter, the anchor, and use it as a reference point for all subsequent decisions. It's a mental shortcut that marketers and negotiators love to exploit. But here's the catch. You can flip the script by being aware of the anchor and consciously questioning it. The confirmation bias, seeing only what you want to see. Have you ever searched for information online and found yourself clicking on articles that support what you already believe? That's confirmation bias. Our brains love to stick with the familiar and comfortable, which is why we tend to seek out evidence that aligns with our existing beliefs and ignore anything that contradicts them. While this bias helps us avoid cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable feeling of holding conflicting ideas, it also traps us in echo chambers. The solution? Actively seek out opposing viewpoints and challenge your assumptions. 4. The availability heuristic. When recent events cloud judgment. Let's talk about the availability heuristic. This bias occurs when we overestimate the importance of information that's readily available in our minds. For example, after watching news about plane crashes, you might feel like flying is incredibly dangerous, even though statistics show it's much safer than driving. The availability heuristic makes dramatic or recent events seem more common than they actually are. To counteract this, rely on data and broader perspectives rather than personal anecdotes. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Why a little knowledge can be dangerous. Ever noticed how beginners in any field often overestimate their abilities, while experts tend to underestimate theirs? That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. It highlights a paradox. The less you know, the more confident you are, because you don't know enough to realize how much you don't know. This bias reminds us of the importance of humility and continuous learning. If you're aware of this effect, you can consciously seek feedback and remain open to growth. How to outsmart your biases. Now that we've unpacked some of the most common cognitive biases, let's talk about strategies to outsmart them. First, practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your thought patterns and question your initial reactions. Second, diversify your information sources to break out of echo chambers. Third, take your time when making decisions. Snap judgments are where biases thrive. Finally, embrace critical thinking by asking yourself, what evidence am I ignoring? And what if I'm wrong? These small steps can lead to big changes in how you perceive the world. Cognitive biases are a double-edged sword. On one hand, they help us navigate the overwhelming amount of information we encounter every day. On the other, they can mislead us, making us believe things that aren't entirely true. But here's the good news. Awareness is the first step toward change. By understanding these biases and taking conscious steps to counteract them, you can make smarter decisions and live a more intentional life. If you found today's video insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. And now it's your turn. What biases have you noticed in your own thinking? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's learn and grow together. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning.